live stream, and you can even post a comment underneath as well. It's Smooth 981. That's the channel on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. The analysts are in this morning. It's Lakunle and Devoe. Good morning and welcome.
Morning, President Zibby. Good morning, Lagos. And
Lakunle, we're gonna make it like JJ Okorie. You're gonna have to say it twice.
all right, I didn't know I'm that good. Good morning, President Zibby. Good morning, Lagos. And good morning, world. Let's see what we had this morning to talk about.
All right.
Morning, world. Morning, Lagos. Zibby, Lakunle. Coup protest or no protests?
Well, let's start off with, you guessed it, the protest. Now, the court restricts protesters to freedom, peace parks in Lagos. This headline comes from The Nation. Devoe?
Okay, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, in this report from The Nation, the High Court of Lagos has restricted protesters who are planning against August 1, that's Thursday, just one day away, in Lagos State to protest within the Ganifa Army Park and the Peace Park in Ketu. They're saying this was coming due to petitions from the AG after Inspector General Police met with some protesting lawyers to some of the protesters in Abuja. That's Femi Falana and Barrister Adegboroye, who were lawyers to the Take It Back movement, who asked that police protection be given to protesters, whereas the IG was recommending that they stay within a restricted area, which they did not agree to. They were saying that they were afraid that the police, who obviously, with only 350 policemen nationwide, with about 150,000 of them doing VIP work, meaning they don't have enough manpower to protect every area in Lagos. But within this story, we also have many pushbacks from different quarters of people saying that the protest should not go in, especially in Lagos State. That never again should what happened during the NSARS protest happen. But like I said, we must always say the truth about a lot of the narratives being pushed out of there. What is the fear about? We all know, for those who were in Nigeria, who witnessed this, is still on video, that NSARS was a peaceful protest until state-sponsored hoodlums attacked, which gave the opportunity for the police and the military to come in. However, on Monday, there was a protest by those who were against Thursday's protest that freely was allowed to move. So the question is, if you protested, why are you asking other people not to protest? There have been pushbacks from different quarters in the country, from both government, state actors, non-state actors, suspect organizations asking for youths not to protest. Yet, the police and the military and the NCDC, the security forces, who have a constitutional duty to protect those who are protesting, have more or less been giving fear-mongering and warnings to anybody who intends to be destructive. At the same time, you have openly, I think yesterday on TV, at a station with a minister present, Asari Dokubo was threatening for people who intend to bring the protest to the Niger Delta that they would collect, which in local parlance means that they would get back they would get back in full measure what they were giving him. Now, you see, these are the antics, these are the dog whistles, these are the commotions that lead to the breakdown of law and order. Because what is a peaceful protest? A peaceful protest is simply citizens taking their constitutional rights, going to the streets or going to the homes of leaders and letting them know their displeasure to the economic hardship, which I believe this government, having gone through what happened in the last administration, should have learned its lessons. Secondly, what is this panic and fear mongering all about? How I wish, and because my question is not, I don't want to wish. That's not the way of responsible citizens. Why are all the actors, both government officials, party officials, organizations that are coming out in mass to prevent people or to discourage people from protesting, why were they not on a daily basis holding government to account? Why were they not on a daily basis pushing for all the issues that Nigerians have been facing to get them to bear? I don't understand. Because let's even say that they cancel the protest and they don't protest again. These same actors will go back into hiding. They will keep their mouths shut. What I want to see is, instead of waiting for the day of protest, if you want to quell any protest, you quell a protest by in what they call good governance. Come to your people, talk to them, hear them out, the same way you did during elections when you needed their votes. You were disturbing them on a daily basis to vote for you. Come out in the same manner, meet the Nigerian citizens at the federal level, at the state level, at the local government level, answer them in terms of, even if you cannot solve everything in one day, what are the things you are doing on a daily basis to address their concerns? I mean, come on. You keep saying there's rice available. This rice that never gets to the people, that we also hear on video, that is being repackaged and sold in the market. You said there's 40,000 naira rice being sold. Where is it being sold? Stop giving people audio promises. I mean, we live a real life. We don't live a fake life. And the APC needs to be very careful. I expect the APC to show example. Let it be that people should be able to speak about what you've done for them. Rice is not the only problem that people are facing. Even if you get the rice, what about the tomatoes and the oil that you use to cook it, or the meats that you use to digest it? What about the transportation issues? What about the new pump price with scarcity all over Nigeria that has not been resolved? What about the astronomical medical bills to be paid, cost of diesel and cost of gas? Please, Mr. President, please stop hiding. Come out, talk to your people, and let's get this country moving.
All right, Devoe, Lakunle, do you have something to add?
Okay, so since this protest or no protesting that started, my position had been protests do not result in something favorable, right? That's been my position. But over time, I've ruminated over it, and I'm like, wait, maybe the government is telling us something that we're not hearing. And I think with the pronouncement of the IG, according to this report yesterday, it became clearer. Maybe the government is just telling us that, look, we can't guarantee you security if you go to protest. We are helpless against the hoodlums who we know exist in our society. We are understaffed, we are undertrained, we don't know how to handle crowds. Maybe that's what the police and the government are telling us. And they're saying, in your own interest, if you go to protest, whether peacefully or not peacefully, and you get hijacked by hoodlums, my ill-trained and understaffed people would react in a way that would cause something else. Maybe that's what the government is actually telling us that we are not hearing. And having said that, I hear the government and the courts say you are restricted to a certain place. So I think with now that it has become illegal pronouncement, I think everybody should just respect that pronouncement, at least for the Lagos area. So for those people who want to protest, you can go to the places that your restriction has been granted. The police has been ordered by the court also to give you protection in the place. Please let us marry these two opinions that I think I have in my head, so that the things that government is trying to avoid will not happen, and the things that you want to say for the government to hear you, they will hear you in that spot. I can't for the life of me think that we need to get to this point before people who begged, who spent sleepless nights to campaign, that they will do this, they will do A, they will do B, and get into power, and everything seems to be going downhill. Granted, there had been a lot of things that have gone bad over the last 60, 50, 40 years. But let us see the attempts that we're doing things to make things work.
All right, let us know your thoughts. WhatsApp 0809 440 981. I've got a message coming through, and this is from DG and Devoe again. He says, protest is the only language politicians in power understand. Politicians can predict the pattern and outcome of elections, but they can't predict the outcome of a protest. So whenever the people come together in one accord to protest, politicians and their cronies suddenly shelve okay, I didn't get that, but they can't predict the outcome of the protests. Francis Ojo from Ojo, I don't get your message. If you could reward it, that would be brilliant. And Dan Okuda says the protest should go on. It is the constitutional right of Nigerians. It's the duty of the police to protect citizens whether they are protesting or not. And it's also the rights and the duties of the citizens to be law abiding. I think a lot of people don't have problems with protests, but there is always that fear, worry from past protests that have happened that there is a tendency for these protests to either be hijacked or for people to sort of turn violent. I think that's a major concern.
That actually is the major concern everywhere, because at the end of the day, when it all happens, we are worse off than where we were before it happened.
All right, I've got another message. This is from Abbas. Abbas says we should stop the misinformation that the NSAS was peaceful until thugs disrupted it. Why is APC the only party that controls all the states in Nigeria? The release of the venues for protest yesterday gave more traction to the school that believes there's an agenda to the protest. No state in the Southeast has a venue for the protests, and emotions should not distort reasoning, because a protest labeled Days of Rage cannot be envisaged to be peaceful. Let's move on to the next headline. And this one comes from Punch. Council probes Lagos FCE violence, school shots.
Okay, so coming off the tail of the first story, now we're here. This is a citadel of higher learning in the Lagos area, right in the middle of Lagos, in Yaba, Federal College of Education. So I think sometime in May or early June, the provost had granted a news interview, and he has insinuated that he has troubles with the unions in the institution, and that they locked him out of his house and they of his office and threatened to eject him from the official quarters, which is within the school campus and all that. I think all of that came to a head sometime as a build-up to yesterday. Maybe they eventually ejected him from the house, and he's contacted the Federal Ministry of Education, who, from a report I read about it yesterday, says that they sent a delegation to come and broker peace between the provost and the unions. So it is on approach and entering into the campus that all was let loose. We hear stories from all sides. Everybody says the stories they favor themselves. They attacked us. We saw videos of the vehicles. I counted 5 that were vandalized. There was a video of a particular man, an elderly man, standing on top of one of the vehicles while he was breaking the windscreen. In my mind, I was thinking, so this man's children would see him doing this, right? And there were students who were also brought into the matter. The story as to the students coming into the matter was a matter that some staff members were being arrested by the police and they were being beaten up. So they were intervening to save their lecturers from the police. In the first instance, I knew when we were in the university, there was an unspoken rule. No matter what happens within the campus, police bearing arms were not supposed to enter into the institutions. I do not know if that still stands. I don't know why they go in armed like that, right? Having also said that, so this is also part of what we're saying about protests, whatever, that it always results in some form of violence at least they've not reported that anybody, no lives have been lost so far, right? But it comes to the fact that, so what is the administration style of the provost? What is it that the unions wanted? There are proper channels to do all these things. You have to write to the ministry, write to the minister, go on strike, whatever. How do you become violent against a fellow human being? Now, the school is short. Parents are going to bear the brunt of keeping their children at home. With the monies they spend over, will continue to spend. They get delayed from completing their education. Things have been damaged. It's the students are going to transfer those costs to. They're going to pay for the repairs of all this that's been solved. Some people are going to be expelled. Some people are going to be identified and sent and prosecuted. And so these are the kind of things that we need to be circumspect about. We always know where it starts. We don't know where it ends. And also, I think that the matter should not just be a reconciliation. The provost should be investigated. What led to this? The unions should be investigated. Why they went that way? The students should also be punished for what they did. The police should also investigate itself how it became that the students claim that it was because they started shooting at them that they started to destroy things. So all of this put together still tells us that we know where protest and anger starts. We don't know where it ends.
All right, you're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. We see the messages coming through. Please keep them coming. The conversation continues. More headlines with the analyst right here on Smooth 98.1.
The best of everything in the morning.
So the old guy that was vandalizing the car, so maybe he's one of the union members?
It's like,
Zibby,
Yes.
we'll take the story on the medical doctor kidnapping Kaduna
Okay.
before
That
they
is
had
seven.
they
All
had
right.
sharing of money. Yes.
Okay.
it's
That
not
is
6.
five.
That's 5.
Yeah.
Is that 5? Yeah, 5.
Yeah, 5.
To the future together.
A whole new world. A dazzling place I never knew. All right, going on. You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. It's Zibby here. I have the analyst in with me, Lakunle and Devoe. We're looking at the news stories making the headlines and would love for you to be a part of the conversation. So you can catch the live stream on our YouTube channel, Smooth 981. You can also send your messages through on WhatsApp 0809 444 0981 or just tweet at Smooth 981. The hashtag is Freshly Pressed 981. Next headline comes from The Guardian. Resident doctors threaten strike over kidnapped colleague. Devoe?
Well, just to continue on the ongoing state of insecurity within the country, NARD, that's the National Association of Resident Doctors, has taken the clarion call for state support in the release of their colleague, Dr. Ganiat Kpokuola Olawale, who was kidnapped with her husband, a squadron commander within the Air Force, alongside some other people that were staying in their house in Kaduna in December. And till date, what has happened is that the kidnappers asked for about 60 million naira, of which 10 million naira was sent to them. And at another point in time, 40 million naira plus some other items and goodie bags were sent to them, of which the kidnappers refused to release them. And recently, the last time they spoke to them through a phone call was sometime in March, of which the kidnappers were asking for another 40 million. I mean, you see, sometimes all these kidnap cases or cases of abduction, some get reported, some don't get reported. And in this case, would I say fortunate, unfortunate? The key person, because there are 4 people that were kidnapped, she has a body, that's the National Residents Association, that are supporting her. Now, you see, this is a real state of the nation. And my point is, Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Devoe.
Nobody is more important than the other person. Why don't we have the same clamor around the insecurity by all these organizations that we're hearing with this protest? Why don't we have the same clamor from the government of Kaduna, from all the civil society organizations, from the military and the police over this case? Now, the truth is, NARD has said, that's the resident doctors have said, that if the government doesn't do anything about the case of Ganyats, on the 12th of August, they will be proceeding on a national strike. Is that really what we want to happen? Don't we have enough trouble? I thought the security forces, I mean, this is one case out of many. This is one case out of many. But the truth is, when they let these things linger, this is what causes Nigerians to get enraged. Because the truth is this, if you cannot deal with the things that affect Nigerians on a daily basis, especially their peace, their harmony, and their stability, how do you expect them to stay calm and give you time or be patient? Someone that was kidnapped in December, this is July, having coughed up 50 million. Not, remember in the last time they said that those who pay ransom should be jailed. What would you do if your own family member was involved? This is July, and we're still doing what? We wait to see what the security forces will do pending the NARD threats to go on nationwide strike come 12th of August.
All right, thank you, Devoe. WhatsApp 0809 440 981. Let's see what messages we have coming through. Ajayi says, this back and forth about the hunger protest is quite avoidable if only the government will do the right thing. Let the government address the people and tell them the specific measures that will bring down the prices of goods, especially food, that is responsible for the prevailing and biting hunger. Fidelis says, please note violence with the NSAS protest didn't start until there was a shooting. It's the federal government that is, okay, that's an allegation that you can't prove, Fidelis, except you have evidence to actually back that up. Joseph says, when no state actors make threats to Nigerians, the government doesn't frown, but when other citizens propose protests, the government starts actually trying to discourage them. The security agencies owe the country a duty of total security and not one-sided. Yinka Bolu says, have you seen the list of venues listed by the lawyer? Is the Southeast not part of the nationwide protest? Kudos to the IGP, because I'm not sure we've had this sort of engagement in the past. The question is, why are the people opposed to localizing this so-called peaceful protests? We hope that the plan is not to infringe on the rights of those that are going about their own business. All right, let's move on to the next headline coming from a Daily Post. Crisis hits Nigerian aviation sector over grounding of Arik Airline.
Okay, so I would look at this story from two perspectives. So May 29th, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was sworn in. By June 6th or thereabouts, he made an announcement of Ms. Adiza Bala Usman as the coordinator of intergovernmental and interministerial affairs. I think Adiza Bala, Adiza should say this, because now here we have two government agencies bickering over this matter. The minister comes up, announces the suspension of and grounding of Arik flights nationwide, and then the arm comes and says no, the minister is wrong for doing that. I think that the existence of Adiza's office should have been notified of these two positions, and government between them they should have come to an agreement rather than come to the public and be fighting rough fights. Apologies to Fela, as it were, right? And then let's go back to the crux of the story itself. Now, so I pity all those of us who travel by air in Nigeria and then would like to book pretty much ahead because it's supposed to save us a few thousands of naira. I'm imagining in my head the number of people who's booked various Arik flights nationwide in the last 1 week till the end of the month, or for the next 30 days. I think it's a 30-day cycle. So what happens to all of those people, particularly those ones who are supposed to travel today or late yesterday because the grounding was immediate. Sometimes when we make some of this, we make these pronouncements like the mentality of the soldier of now, that yes, a lot of us grew up all our lives spent in that whatever. I think it hasn't left us. I think that this is a democracy. There are ways to go about these things such that there should be a gradual wind down. You just don't wake up and ground an airline that's possibly the biggest of all the local airline operators in Nigeria. Just don't wake up one morning and do this. You've scattered a lot of people's plans as to travel. They now have to worry about getting their money back if they ever will get it back. The matter itself is that Arik Air is owing to some $2.5 billion to various creditors. AMCON is taking over the business already. So go talk to AMCON to get your money, right? While the operation of the business continues. That's the reason they set up AMCON anyway. I'm not sure there's any other reason. But for them to buy the debts of any company they are taking over so that the business does not die. So why shut them down when you can talk to AMCON to pay you the money? If you have a problem with that, you are a minister, you have access to the president. Talk to your president to make whatever you need to do to happen. So we don't need to flex powers unnecessarily because, in my opinion, this is an unnecessary flex of power. And it's an embarrassment to the government. The minister and the AMCON, they serve the same government. It's not like it's the external government that is involved in this matter. So I think that they should go back and go and look at themselves and try to resolve this and stop this embarrassment that causing all of us.
All right, thank you for that, Lakunle. Let's move on to the next headline, and this is from Daily Post. Alleged fund mismanagement, EFCC. This is Hajj
I
Commission.
cannot hear Zibby.
Devoe, can you hear me now?
Nope.
All right, let's look at some of the messages coming
Okay, I
through.
can hear you now.
Okay, good. From Daily Post, alleged fund mismanagement, EFCC quizzes Hajj Commission chairman. We've got about a minute for that. Devoe?
Yes, there have been petitions to the EFCC to look into the expenditure of the 90 billion that was used by the federal government to the Hajj Commission to subsidize pilgrims. Now, obviously, you know how this last Hajj had some issues in terms of people dying because of the excessive heat. At the same time, some of them were saying they couldn't get their quarters, they couldn't get enough water. Basically, the welfare was contested. So many are asking, what did the money, which was meant to cater to pilgrims, what was it used for? If it was sufficient in the planning, how come the execution was different? Well, the EFCC said they've summoned the chairman or the executive secretary of the commission for questions. We wait to see the outcome of this. EFCC, most times, they will let us know when they get cases, but they really most times do not let us know the outcome. We're still waiting for the EFCC to get to the Kogi state governor so that he can answer his own questions. We're still waiting for the answers on the Ministry of Humanitarian and Disaster Affairs and all the colossal pipeline theft that have taken place there. We're still waiting for the EFCC and the crude oil theft. Please, EFCC, get to us in time. Please, we need answers to be able to know whether this government is true to its word in stemming corruption.
All right, Deji says, ironic the amount of publicity and wokeness from the government on this planned protest, if only same steps had been taken towards combating terrorism and banditry. Let's see another message, and this one is coming from Iweaya, and he says, please, the protesters should include that the president should reduce the number of ministers and ministries. This can actually be done immediately. Abbas says, what happened in that school just showed how unruly people can be when they protest. You can never control how a protest will go. Or can we say those people who did that were also sponsored? A fight can break out between anti and pro protesters, which may snowball into something big. We hope people will be civil.
This is why we say that's why we are circumspect about protests, not the crux of it. Everybody has a right to, but it is the outcome of it. Where does it leave us? That's the main issue with it. Everybody's going about it the wrong way.
All right. right. Fabian says, I beg to disagree. Protests do not always become violent. There have been protests all around the world and even in Nigeria. They were not violent. It's our security who needs to learn crowd control, de-escalate tense situations, and dialogue rather than using brute force. Deji from Isolo says, why must the federal government wait until citizens intend to protest before they remove duty in food and other commodities? Have you been in a public space and people come to you for food? There's hunger in the land. And Bimbo says, luckily, it's not a power show. Amcon can't run the airline, just like almost every endeavor they go into. They probably would have made the case worse. And Ibrahim says, and this is coming via YouTube, things are not doing so well at the moment. From Lakunle, the leaders of this nation have created. The center is not holding. You can fool some people sometimes, but you can't fool the people always. Now, once again, we hope that everyone who chooses to protest will do so peacefully and, of course, within the lines of the law as well. Yes, people are free to air their opinions. People are free to take to the streets to protest, but the people must work with the law. Going against the law is not in the best option for, it's not the best interest for any Nigeria and for Nigerians as well. That is all the time that we have for Freshly Pressed this morning. Thank you for listening. Thanks for your messages. And special thanks to our analysts as well, Lakunle and Devoe, for joining us.
Thank you, President Zibby, for having me.
Devoe? Well, thank you. And that is all the time for Freshly Pressed this morning. Do stay with us. There's a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast.
Devoe.
I'm still sleeping. Thanks, Devoe.